Shem Yahushai, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. All right, this is going to be a quick response to a question that was asked on the comment board. It's going to be entitled, "Yeah, you are bound to your husband. The answer will not change." Okay, and I may have to, mess with the title a little bit, make it more catchy to the eye to attract more people to watch it. I may put Israelite sister or some shit like that. We don't do gimmicks, but you do have to be mindful of the titles that we put up, and it's very strategic to get the believers and those that are not believers to tune in and watch. All right. Anyway, there's a question that was asked on the comment board, and let me say this before I answer the question. This is should I say another exhausting question dealing with this topic of marriage and hooking up and all of that, because it gets old after a while. We do these videos, and you newer people, you have to search for these videos, right? Because you could have found the answer to this question. And we talk about, we go over it from time to time. Now, this is the homepage right here, GMS South Carolina '08. There are a lot of videos on this channel. I know I've answered this question for other sisters, brothers, whoever. And if you go through the videos, you take the time to cycle through these videos, you can find videos pertaining to this topic. I'm going to answer it now for a new updated version of it. So that way, because somebody else is going to ask this soon. So if you click on the videos tab from the home page, you can cycle through all these videos. And it may take some time, but that's what you have to do when you're searching for something. You're searching for an answer, because we're not always going to answer every question that we've already answered 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Okay. You just cycle through these videos, and I'm sure somewhere, excuse me, you will find videos dealing with this particular topic and any other topic that you come up with. I'm talking about on my channel alone, not to mention the other brothers. You can also, once you own home of this channel, if you go down, you scroll down, I got an alternate channel, GMS South Carolina Walk and Talk 8. And on this channel, there are a bunch of, most of these videos are not new. Most of these are reposts, right? Re-uploads. And I run them as at the time when they're uploaded, I generally run these as premieres, for this same reason, to keep these videos logged and on YouTube. So when people ask these questions, they can go there and see, they can go there and receive the answers. So you see right here, here's one dealing with a subject like this. No, 1 Corinthians 7:14 does not mean automatic salvation for your spouse. That was one that I went into, dealing with a question there. And there are a lot of questions answered, in our videos. All right. Just wanted to mention that. So let's get on with it. And the only reason that I mention it that way is because, a lot of times in the truth, especially now, people like the microwave. This is a microwave generation, should I say. You believe that if we go live, you can ask us a question and get the answer right then, but you're really not being mindful of the other believers that's watching. We got a particular topic set up. Individual comes on the live stream asking something got nothing to do with the lesson, and you throw us all off. Now if we say we're doing a what's it called a Q&A, then you can ask questions like that. But normally we would prefer you to put your questions on the comment board. But even when you do, why don't you search a little bit before you ask these questions? Because this is something that gets old. We're here dealing with salvation, and we ain't particularly talking about people's personal lives. But let's go ahead and get into it. This could lead to somebody, destroying individual salvation. Now, when it comes to you sisters out there, you women, I know what we teach. I'm gonna say it from the beginning. When you hook up with a guy, if you come into the knowledge of the truth and you hook up with an individual, that's who you're gonna be with. Whether this guy considers you his husband or not, considers himself to be your husband or not, you know the truth of the Bible. It's very uncomely for Israelite women to go and have different partners jumping around from man to man. You don't do that, because you're considered an adulterer once you do that. Once you come to the knowledge of the truth of who you are, you're supposed to follow marriage the biblical way, which is when you hook up with a man, right? That becomes your husband. Not according to what Esau said. Fuck his law. Fuck what he says. Because what do you think? You think the Most High gonna recognize Esau's law over his own? Is that what you think? Anyway, let's get into it. This is from Diligent Daughter 9275. All right. She says, Shalom. Listening to this lesson arose a question. I asked respectfully and humbly. And hold on before I go. Yeah, let's take that off. Salakia. All right. Let's read it again. Listen to this lesson arose a question I asked respectfully and humbly. I came into this truth a few years back, excuse me. I came to this truth a few years back and learned through GMS what marriage is biblically. So you already knew what marriage was biblically. You knew that already, right? And upheld my duties to the best of my ability throughout the entirety. I informed my partner even though he was not a believer. What difference did that make? We've been over it. If you know what marriage was, right? As a believer, you know what it means. It doesn't matter what he thinks, right? Because he's still of the world, but it doesn't matter. This is why we advise we're not like IUIC. We're not gonna make you leave who you with in the world and find you got to marry a brother in the truth. No, that's wicked. That's going off. You had a dude, that dude is your husband, whether he accepted that or not, because a nigga in the world ain't gonna accept that, right? Because in his mind, that's baggage, that's binding. And that's a problem with people in the world. They think that the word of the Lord binds them, which it does, but that's a good thing. You said, I informed my partner, even though he was not a believer. Towards the end of our relationship, he started to listen to GMS, but he never really considered me as his wife since it wasn't legal. We are no longer, okay, since it wasn't legal. Let's stop right there. Well, what's legal? Is it legal according to the Heavenly Father's law? Yeah, it is. You saying legal according to the white man's law. So when you think like that, this is very aggravating. But we understand, things come up and shit happens in the world. But see, this is the pea brain state of a 2/3 ass nigga. That's why it's advisable or inadvisable for any sister to hook up with a nigga in the world, because this is what you got. Just like it's for brothers. See, it's different for a man, because as the Israelite man, we can have, we're allowed to have another wife, more wives. So that means if a chick you with as a dude, she wind up bugging out, tripping, doing all this, you can leave her, and it's not a condition, it's not a bind on you, because what? She gonna be the one destroyed, and you can move on and get another wife. For the women, it's not the same way, because you're bound to that man. We're gonna read it in the scriptures. And if you take another husband, while that first husband is alive, then you become an adulterer. That's why it's utmost important for y'all to pay attention to what you're doing. You can't get caught up in hormones. I was reading a post a brother made the other day, and he was right. The Most High told us to be fruitful and multiply, but in this society, in this captivity, Esau has over sexualized Jacob. So now you think about sex first more than you think about the long-term arrangement, and you wind up binding yourself and get into a situation that you think is not fair. And what this does, it damages your walk with the Lord, because you start thinking that it's not fair. You start trying to say, well, it ain't fair. We should be equal. Well, the Lord didn't write it like that. The Lord didn't write it that way. So you got to realize what you're doing before you get in the situation. You wind up all messed up. You think it's not fair, or that this is not the truth, because now, as a single young woman, and I don't know the person's age, I'm just saying in general, you got to be by yourself, and from now on until either the Lord come back, or till you and the dude get together till he passes away. And that could be that's heavy. I wouldn't want to do it, but I'm not you, whoever it is out there. Now she says, towards the end of our relationship, he started to listen to GMS, but he never really considered me as his wife since it wasn't legal. And what I was going to say was, niggas think that the white man's law supersedes the Heavenly Father's law. You think back in the time of Adam and Eve and Abraham and Sarah, and even during the time of the Lord, you think you had to go to the Mr. White Man, can this woman be my wife? He got to give you permission to get married? Is that what you mean? Because the scriptures say, what the Lord have joined together, let no man tear asunder. So how's the Lord joining people together? By a fucking piece of paper? The answer is no. Again, towards the end of our relationship, he started to listen to GMS, but he never really considered me as his wife. What does it matter what he considers? Since it wasn't legal, we are no longer together respectfully. Am I still bound to him? Well, let's read what the scriptures say. Romans 7 verse 1. We'll see if you're still bound to him. Believers united to the anointed. You see that? So you're a believer, right? Romans 7 and 1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. You know the law. How that the law hath dominion over a man as long as he liveth. What's dominion? It's rulership. The law rules us. It dominates us, right? The Christians talk shit and they say, oh, well, we're no longer under the, yes, you're always going to be under the law. Always, always. We're never going to not be under the law. Even in the kingdom of heaven, when we go into the kingdom, we get new bodies. The law is going to be put in our inward parts as Israelites. There's always going to be there. And all the world will have to follow the commandments and the law of the Heavenly Father. They're going to be forced to do it initially. And then it's going to become, it's like we follow their laws. You stop at the red light, you get a license, you get a license plate, whatever, right? You got to pay taxes on this, pay taxes on that. You got to do this way. Don't take the tag off the mattress. See, their law is in place, but in the kingdom, our law is going to be in place, or the Heavenly Father's law. So we're never going to be without it. Now we're rehearsing the righteous acts, right? Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law had dominion over a man as long as he liveth. For the woman which hath an husband, what's this based on? The woman which hath a husband, is it based upon if he believes she's his wife? The Most High didn't give us that power to say, I'm going to sleep with this woman, she my wife, I'm going to sleep with this, but she ain't my wife. He didn't give us that power to do that. Now we know the situation. There's certain situations that, brothers understand, but we can't, just like when Jake first come into the truth, you start being with different women out there in the world, and we tell you that you can't bind those women. You can't bind them because they're not believers, but to you, what is she? It's about what the believers believe and what the Most High said in his word. You can't hook up with a 2/3 and then bind them. But guess what? As a believer, as a handmaiden of the Lord, you belong to the Almighty. What did he say? If you be with a dude, that's your husband. For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. See that? So the only way that you're no longer that dude's woman is if he pass away. Even if he's an unbeliever, it doesn't matter because there's provisions set up for unbelievers in the scriptures. Verse 3 says, so then if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man. See that? Let's say now you want to be with another guy, but she said she didn't. So then if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. So there it is. If you get with another guy, you said you knew what it was and you did your wifely duty, so he was your husband, even if he didn't regard it as that. There's your answer. The answer really is in all three verses. So yeah, you're still bound to him. The answer is not going to change. And I put it like that purposely because it seems like, and I'm just being very honest, it seems like a lot of you sisters believe that it's going to be a technicality that can get you off the hook. There's no technicality that can get you off the hook. Can't none of us change the Lord's law. This is Malachi 3:6. It says, you know what? Let me open it up. Malachi 3 tells you, some will argue, well, we in a different part, we in a different time now. You're right, we are in a different time now. But guess what? The Lord's word is still binding. It's a binding agreement. That's why I use the words like bound. She's bound by the law of her husband. You're bound. What if you bound? What are you doing? You're tied up. You're wrapped up. You're locked up. Malachi 3:6. For I am the Lord, whose name is Yahweh. I change not. The Lord don't change. He never changed what the statute of marriage was. He never changed that. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Now he was speaking of whether he was dealing with Jacob or not, because in this book of Malachi, of course, Jake was like, the Lord don't love us, but you still can use it for that. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. The Lord ain't gonna change his word. He never changed it, and he's never gonna do it. You see? So let's go into 1 Corinthians a little bit now, and see these scriptures are right there for you to read. And let's just read a two quick scriptures. One main one I wanted to read. How did men and women become husband and wife? This is Genesis 24, right? In verse, I started around about 62. It says, Isaac marries Rebekah, right? Our forefather and foremother. Isaac and Rebekah had who? Jacob and Esau, right? We came from Jacob. It's Abraham, Isaac, then Jacob. Jacob, 12 tribes. Us today, Negroes, right? Latinos and Native Americans. Genesis 24:62. And Isaac came from the way of the well Lahairoi, for he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, what man is that walketh in the field to meet us? She's like, who is that guy? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. Now, of course, some things happened in there in between. Of course, they had to meet, they talked, whatever, right? But she was feeling him. She wanted to be together. And what did he do? Did he say, let's go down to the justice of the peace? Let me go get these rings. Let's go to Zales, or Hellsberg's, Hellsberg's diamonds. Let me find you a nice old ring. No, they didn't do that. That's this side of the world's custom to do that shit. Go down to the white man. Since you property, you got a social security number. Now go there. And Esau got to, give you permission. Even back in slavery, when the slave wanted to be with a woman, what did he do? He had to ask his master if he can be with this slave. He want to be with Kissy from the other plantation. Then the slave master got to get together. My boy, he like Kissy. Kissy like Fred. Can we let them be together? Let's see what kind of babies they gonna have. Well, I don't know. Fred, he's 6'5". Kissy, she pretty thick herself. They probably gonna bring forth some nice youngins. We can sell them. See, that's the type of mentality you're in when you got to, Mr. White Man, can I get married? So it's taken out. It was never his duty to tell you can get married, but we've been in captivity. So I get it. Just giving you a little, a little bit of, a little comedy or whatever. And you got to remember that. But back then it wasn't so. See? And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. He didn't take her to the justice of the peace. He didn't take her to see the preacher that Esau controls by the 501c3. He took her into the tent, and you know what happened? And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. I mean, we can read this stuff till we blue in the face. If you're not going to apply it, it's not going to work for you. 2 Samuel 11:27. This is, let's see real quick. This is King David. I'll just read this point right here. This is 2 Samuel 11:26. It says, and when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done pleased the Lord. Now, the reason it's written this way is because Bathsheba belonged to somebody else at the time, and David was already sleeping with her, but it was considered what? It was adultery. She wasn't his wife yet. She still belonged to Uriah. That's why it's written that way. But she was already, she can belong to two men. But once Uriah died, then she became David's. Okay. So that whole sex covenant and all of that is very serious, and is a binding agreement. You see, this is another situation with King David. This is after Nabal died. 1 Samuel 25. Verse 39, it says David marries Abigail. Now, David was a king. And during the times of the king, sure, now the right way, or the way that marriage also was done too, you did have a writing of a covenant and agreements in the perfect sense. When two families decided their son and daughter's gonna come together, sure, there was a ceremony, right? Sure, there was a writing of agreement. Sure, people got together and they had a celebration, right? That's in a perfect situation, but there's other situations where they're not perfect. You gotta look at a situation like Joseph and Mary. See, when Yahushua was, I don't want to use the wrong word, procreated, when he was put into his mother's womb in the flesh, what had to happen? Joseph had to come under Mary. You can't, a baby ain't gonna be born out of nothing. But so many people still can't get that. Anyway, let's move on. 1 Samuel 25:39. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, blessed be the Lord that he had pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal. Now, King David was a wise man. He didn't go around, just taking up women that belonged to other men. That was an isolated situation with Bathsheba. But in this regard, an enemy of his, Nabal, had a wife, and she was a sweet lady, and Nabal was an asshole. When the Lord put him to death, then David went in and took her to himself. he says, and he hath kept, let me start over. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord that have pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and have kept his servant from evil, which that evil was revenged because he was going to go and kill him. For the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us to thee to take thee to him to wife. And she arose and bowed herself on her face to the earth and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of my servants of my Lord. And Abigail hastened and rose and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of David and became his wife. See, so that shows once a man is dead, then she's free to, be another man's wife. Verse 43, David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. See that? So even, King David had a bunch of wives, as it were. And whenever Abigail went and she had those other maidens with her, you know that if he wanted to, and it's not written, but he probably went in unto them too. That's just a cuss. That's just how it was. It was the same thing with Abraham and Sarah. Sarah had, and then these other wives, just like with Jacob, I believe it was, when he was taking the daughters Rachel and Leah, and they had slave girls, and they was giving them slave girls to Jacob as well. And that's how some of the tribes got here. When you read about that. Anyway, let's go back to it now. So I answered that part. I'm gonna read a little bit, go back a little bit now. She says, towards the end of our relationship, he started to listen to GMS, but he never really considered me as his wife since it wasn't legal. We are no longer together. Respectfully, am I still bound to him? Well, we already answered it. Romans 7 answered it. The video probably could have been 5 minutes. It says, not that I want another man intimately. My concern is more for the times we are entering into being a single woman. Well, this is the thing. If that dude is not a chosen man, he gonna be destroyed anyway. The Lord gonna get rid of him, and then, Lord willing, put you with another brother. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Going into the kingdom we talking about. The time of Jacob's trouble, that dude gonna probably get purged out. It's just what it is. I wouldn't lose too much sleep over that. I mean, sorry ass nigga in the world, it don't mean you any good anyway. Anyway, I want to read. This is 1 Corinthians 7:1, and this is right here in the scriptures. Y'all should all read it. It says at the top, teaching on marriage. Teaching on marriage. 1 Corinthians 7:1. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. This, you brothers out there that don't have women, it'll be a good idea for your spiritual self to not have a woman. But I ain't no hypocrite. If you want to be with a woman, you can be, but you got to understand, Paul said it, you're going to have trouble in the flesh. Let's see if we can bring it up. And the same for the women. Like I said, we've been over sexualized over here in this country. Everything you see, all the clothes, you see the people, the way the people behave and act. That's how they act. They act in a sexual fashion, and it's hard. I get it. 1 Corinthians 7:28, it's the same chapter. But if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. What kind of trouble, brother? You mean she gonna leave? All kinds of trouble. All kind of hell can break forth for the man and the woman, or for both. Baby daddies, baby mamas, child support, troubles, problems, family troubles, all kind of shit. When you bring two families together, think about all the members in your family: drunks, alcoholics, crackheads, thieves, whores, pimps, gangsters, slothful niggas, lazy, fatties, all kind of stuff. 1 Corinthians 7:1. Now concerning the things, and that's in both your families, and they're gonna play a part in your life, whether you want them to or not. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. You'd be better off if you don't hook up. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, to keep you from committing adultery, because you'll get extra wanting some as a guy, then some woman come present herself to you, but you didn't know she got a dude. You fuck around and do the wrong thing. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. See, so you need to, if that's what you got to do it the right way. And then it goes on, talking about stuff, husband and wife stuff. We're going to skip over all that because that's just for the marriage in general, which they don't apply to this conversation. Here, let's start at verse 8. Oh, you know what? 7. Verse 6. 1 Corinthians 7 and 6. But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. See, Paul is telling you, I'm going to give you some advice. This is not a commandment from the Lord, but this is some advice. For I would that all men were even as myself, but every man hath his proper gift, for one after this manner and another after that. He was like, I wish everybody was like me. Paul didn't have a woman. When Yahushua was on the scene, he didn't have a woman. They were focused on the ministry. He said it'd be better for guys if they do it like this, but every man got his proper gift. You got to do what you feel is best for you. He says, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. Women that didn't have men, you'd be better off. Those that had husbands at one time, they passed away, you'd be better off not trying to get back into that arena if you following the Lord. But if they cannot contain, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn. And that burn is burning with lust. It's better if you just go ahead and, hook up, get a husband, right? Or get a wife than to walk around, you get it. Verse 10, listen to this. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. He switches it back. He said, now this is coming from the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband. You see that? When these women get into these Israelite groups and they hook up with these guys, and then they don't like the truth no more. They want to get a new man. More times they'll leave the truth and say, I'm no longer Hebrew Israelite. No, you're still Israelite. You just want to go back into the world and be a whore. You want to be with a new man now. You want to ride, like, as Apostle Gabar says, you want to ride the cart carousel. And the minute you do it, you're going to become an adulterer. And nobody can remove that stink off of you. You think that white Jesus can save you from the clutches of Yahweh Shem Yahushua? Not going to happen. So that's why you see these videos, these women leave. When they make them videos and they say, I'm no longer Israelite, that means she's fucking around now. She out there in the world. She went back to the world, right? She's now community property again. That's all it means. She's gonna go back doing what she was doing beforehand. And the same with the guys. They're gonna do it. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. What if he beat me? You women love to say that. What if he beat me? What if he cheated on me? Well, there's one situation where the lady said, he cheated on me with another guy. Am I still his? It doesn't matter what he did. He can't nullify what the Lord put in motion. Sure, you shouldn't be with him. You should leave. But guess what you got to do? It's going to tell you. It says, let not the wife depart. So you're not supposed to leave, but if shit get too bad and you got to leave, if he beat your ass and you got to leave, if she depart, let her remain unmarried. Do you know what that is? You know what makes marriage, right? Sex. So if you leave the man and you break up, whatever happens, you remain unmarried. That means you can't be touched by another man. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't find a situation where, you didn't like his tattoo, his eyebrows was too thick, his feet stunk at night. You didn't know he had bad morning breath, whatever it was. You can't conjure up a reason to go now and be with another guy. Same as this situation. Yes, you're bound to him. The answer is not going to change. Let her remain, but if she depart, let her remain unmarried. Or you got another choice, or be reconciled. You can't be reconciled to somebody you was never with. Re means to do again, right? Concile, join together. Let her be rejoined together to her husband. And let not the husband put away his wife. Sure, if he was a man of the Lord, he should know. She gained a few extra pounds. You don't feel the same about her. She nagging you a little bit more. She asking for more commitment. She taking up too much of your time. If you feel like you would be better if you would leave her alone, yeah. But if you do, you're gonna make that woman commit adultery because she's gonna need somebody. So the Lord commands you not to put away your wife. You're supposed to all the conditions, right? All the conditions that you go through with her, you're supposed to stay with her. For order's sake, you're supposed to stay with that woman, and you got to maintain your husbandly duties. You're supposed to still take care of the house, take care of her like you're supposed to do. Do your duty of marriage like you're supposed to do. Make sure you got food. Take your ass to work. But so many of these out of order Israelites don't do this. You got guys that put away them women, and you be going off when you do it. You creating adultery in the house of Israel, and the Most High gonna do something about it. So yeah, you got wicked Israelite men out there that put them girls away, and that's not supposed to do it. But they're not following the script. All right, now continuing on where we were before. And the point I was making was that we know there are wicked Israelites out there that take, the whole marriage thing and they take advantage of it. Sure, we know that. And one thing that, let me caution all these sisters that watch this video, when you get in a situation like this one that we're reading about, one thing that you're gonna find a stumbling block is because you're gonna now see you've been watching GMS and you liked it. But see, when we get strict and we talk, when we talk harshly and we kind of stern regards to situations like this, you'll start looking for another group to follow now because they're more lenient on it. You'll try to start watching another group to tell you, so you can just get a divorce, they write a law of divorcement, and you can go be with another. You're gonna be going off. And if you want to watch the other group, go ahead watch them. But when you go over there and you get confused with their crazy doctrine, then you try to come back to us, it don't work like that. Okay. It doesn't work like that, but you can go ahead and try to mix those wines if you want to. You're gonna wind up more bugged out. You're gonna wind up bugged out. Let's say it like that. So let's just go ahead and finish this off. I'm gonna go back and start up here. All right. This is 1 Corinthians 7:10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband. We went over that. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. Right? Verse 12. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, this is for unbelievers. You got a wife, she's an unbeliever. She don't believe the truth like you do. You may have had this lady before you came into the truth, right? If any brother hath a wife that believe not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. That cuts IUIC right there. They breaking up homes. A dude coming to the truth, his wife is an unbeliever. They'll tell you now you got to put that girl away and get with a sister, one of the sisters in the camp. That's going off. That's going off. The scripture just said it. If that woman stay with you, you want to be with you, stay with her, man. Verse 13, and the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. Same thing for the women. You got a dude already. You know the duties of marriage. You know what you're supposed to do. And it ain't just wife or husband by what Esau calls it, particularly for you women, right? Once you come into the knowledge of the truth, if you got, let's say you got a divorce of this world before you knew you was an Israelite. Okay, cool. We all did stuff before we was awoke to the truth, right? But when you born again, you become a virgin again. We talk about it in the spirit. You become like unto virgins. You're innocent. Worshiping a false god or idols that we did before, like white Jesus or whatever we were, that's all wiped away. You start a new and fresh. But the first man that you become intimate with after you come into the knowledge of the truth and you fully understand it, that's your dude now. You see, so there's no room for all them excuses. And the woman which has a husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. That's your dude. Whether he believes, and that's the thing that's frustrating with the way the question is worded. You knew the duties of marriage already. You knew about what marriage was, but you think that am I still, towards the end of our relationship, he started listening to GMS, but he never really considered me as his wife since it wasn't legal. We are no longer together respectfully. Am I still bound to him? The answer is yes. Not that I want another man intimately. My concern is more for the times we are entering into being a single woman, the water in advance. Well, I know it can be a tough condition, but you just gonna have to wait on the Lord. You just gotta wait. The thing gotta play out. That dude gonna get taken off the planet if he's not one of the Lord's elect. Right now, the jury's still out. Doesn't look like it, but you can't say for sure. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if she be pleased to dwell with, if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. Why? For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. So it's possible that the unbelieving husband may become a believer because of you. The unbelieving wife may become a believer because of the husband. It's very possible. Or the Most High, depending on, the inner workings of things, the Most High might cut that person a break and save them, right? For your sake. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but the Most High has called us to peace. So when you come into the truth, you got an unbelieving wife. For the guys, you can't make you my wife. I'm an Israelite. We Israelite. You can't make her stay. You all trying to got her watching videos, trying to convert her. She might not want to stay. You can't make her stay. You can't bind people that don't believe with your belief. Same thing for the women. You can't make that guy stay with you because now you his wife and he gonna accept that. But you know the truth. You know that you were his wife, and you're bound by that law. And nobody can remove that. It goes on. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband, or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? See that? But as the Most High hath distributed to every man, as the Lord hath called every one, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches. So you know what the Lord called you to do. That's the focus. That's what the focus should be. What the Lord told you to do. Right? So, that's it. Sorry the response went on a little bit longer. I had to elaborate some. You get into it. But that's the answer. Yes, you are bound. I forgot how I titled it. But yes, you are still bound to your husband, right? The answer will not change. No matter how you flip it, twist it. Well, what if he in jail? What if this? What if his brother came over and he had more money, and it doesn't matter. It's gonna still be adultery if you do something different. You're still bound to your husband. Okay, that's just what it is. It ain't always gonna be fair. It ain't always gonna go. It's not fairy tales. But that's why we say you got to research these things and pray on stuff before you don't just make moves. Don't just make moves. We'll see you again soon, Lord willing. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom.